Hello and welcome to Nowscast. I'm your host Naus, and today I have here with me a longtime friend, Triage, my co-beta for Harry Potter and the International Triwizard Tournament, and Hope and Healing, as well as the author of several whimsical stories such as Daphne Greengrass and the Pie Throwing Championship, and Harry Potter and the Crystal of Lost Dreams. Just two of the several amazing eccentric stories he has bestowed upon us in his almighty hamsterness, as well as his brand new Fleur Delacour and The Secret of the Teardrop. Thank you for joining us today, Triage. How are you?
Well, I've just recovered from 27 hours of no sleep. Other than that, I'm doing great.
Holy crap, that's a lot of time without sleeping.
You're telling me.
So, let's get this started. How did you get started with fanfiction as a reader?
So, yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but basically, I started with Lord of the Rings in 2010. Back then, I had never even heard about fanfiction, much less thought about writing my own. Then I started looking up Harry Hermione fics. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
I can already hear the booing and hissing somehow.
Oh, come on, we have a bunch of Harmony writers
Yeah.
in the server. I'm one.
I know, it's just that
Who
I know.
has been
A
turned.
few times I mentioned Harry Hermione fanfics. It's like people just like, "Argh!"
Yeah,
you know?
it's a divisive crowd. That's.
I mean, yeah, I would say
true.
like, hey, if you like it, good. If you don't like it, well, don't
read
look at it.
Don't
Yeah.
read it. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So I was quite a fan of Wizards of Waverly Place as well. It's a Disney TV series that sort of parodied Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I basically started looking into that as fan fictions, because once I found Lord of the Rings, I realized that, fanfiction.net was a great medium for a lot of stories. So I started looking for those. So one thing led to another.
And
in the end-
hold on, the Wizards of the Waverly Place. When was that you started looking for fanfics? Do you remember?
Oh, around the same time, right? Shortly after I found Lord of the Rings
okay.
fanfiction.net, I jumped into Wizards of Waverly Place.
Okay.
Probably around the same month itself in 2010. And then it just continued from there. But in the end, and only quite recently, I really started reading Harry Potter fanfictions. And if you want to know my exact path on how I started with Harry Potter, I could trace it to one writer, Old Crow, on fanfiction.net.
Yes,
which led me to
they are very famous.
the late. Sorry?
They are very famous.
Oh, yes. And you see, that's the thing. What was remarkable was I actually did not find him until several years later. See, I started back in 2010, and then I started on Harry Potter around 2011, I'd say. But I still didn't get into it very seriously until late 2014 or 2015. That's when I found Old Crow's story, titled No Thanks, which was a Harry Hermione fanfiction. Now, I guess I would say as a writing, it was a bit too repetitive, some of it, but
yeah,
that was how I started. He or she was the one that led me to finding all the other writers. So Old Crow dropped a name, the late great Bobmin356, who showed me Jaconai, another writer.
Yes.
And so, it just went from one to the other. And I started finding all these amazing stories of theirs. And it really was inspiring. So that through that, I was introduced to Liberty, who was writing Hope and Healing.
Yes.
And Salient.
Walalulu, the horrible long name. Gomez 3016. I don't know.
Correct.
So many numbers.
And Salient wrote Harry Potter and the International Triwizard Tournament. So yes, and that's how I got to meet all of you.
Yes.
So this whole journey started in 2015. I have not gone back since. I also now have about 50 fan fictions on my Google tab on my phone. That's the size of my backlog of stories I have not yet finished reading.
I managed to delete pretty much most of mine backlog simply due to not having enough time to even consider reading. So I have maybe one fic to read at most.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that. I need to do that actually.
It's a pain when you finish though, because you can't find easily another one to start reading. You gotta search for it. So
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you make the jump from reader to writer, and why did you pick what you picked as your first stories and fandoms?
Okay. So it started with Wizards of Waverly Place back in 2012. I had been reading quite a few fanfics related to the subject by that time, and I decided maybe I should write my own. And then because I was also a fan of Lord of the Rings, if you read that fic that I wrote, the first one I ever wrote, you'll find that there's quite a bit of a mixture of both Wizards of Waverly Place and Lord of the Rings. Although it's not actually a crossover. It's just that my flair tended to mix the styles together, and I created an epic saga instead of a comedy, which was never the intention to begin with. It was intended to be quite a serious fan fiction rather than comedy, which was what Waverly Place is supposed to be most of the time. So I was right.
It's quite long though, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's one of that fic one that you wrote. It's quite long, isn't it? Like 80,000 words, I think.
Before I faltered completely.
Yeah. Okay.
I also wrote a dark Pokemon fan fiction, just so you know how my mind worked back then.
How does a dark Pokemon fanfic works? Like Pikachu is evil.
There's a few chapters in that one. It should give you a good idea, because instead of making it a childlike cartoon story, it is not. It is anything but. I have essentially reinvented the Pokemon universe to be quite grim.
Oh, so like actually using animals to fight and stuff like that.
Yes, and the whole concept and all that. And what I was implying in that story is that these Pokemon are more than just animals. They are actually sentient beings.
Oh boy.
And supposedly we're not on Earth, we are on some other planet. So humans are basically invaders in that world and enslaved an entire race of creatures or beings
to
that's use
dark.
For their own pleasure.
That's really dark. Oh boy.
I told you. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Jesus. When you started writing, what did you focus on improving first?
Tenses. Bloody tenses. If you looked at my first ever fanfiction, which is named The Balestone Chronicles, The Pendant of Erewhon, you will find the first chapters especially were horrific to read. And I do ask myself, I wrote that? Someone pointed out how I mixed the past and present tenses with the same sentence.
Yeah, that really happens.
So once I realized that, I began to... Oh, sorry. So once I realized that, I began to fix it as best as I can. I actually had to read the Harry Potter books to get a good grasp on writing. So that was around 2015 when I actually read the Harry Potter books. Until then, I've only had the movies for references.
Okay.
So from 2015 onwards, you will find my writing has changed and updated to imitate Rowling's style much more.
One thing it's very impressive about your writing, it's how clean of any mistakes you have. You have barely, 10 suggestions I have to make as far as grammar and comma usages and whatever. It's extremely clean. It's one of the cleanest by far.
Well, thank you. And thank you for actually going through that as my beta. So I really appreciate all the help I got.
No worries.
But
my pleasure.
I'm glad that you think I make very little mistakes. To me, it looks horrendous sometimes.
No, it's really, really clean. There's very few people that I've worked on that are half as clean as what you write.
Well, let's not name names now, shall we?
Please no. I'll have a horde of authors after my hide. So tell me about your process for defining what is a good idea, and what do you define as a good idea that is good enough to keep it or to throw it away? What makes you choose one plot bunny instead of another to write.
Right. So, I've never really thought about it before. Usually I'm a make it up as I go along sort of person. But I think that I do bounce ideas off people and sometimes unintentionally write a whole saga in that conversation before realizing I'd already completed the entire summary for an entire idea. So, in fact, the person I've bounced off most of my ideas is you.
Yes.
So, you would actually have seen that. So
I think our Discord logs are basically
yes.
thousands and more thousands and hundreds of thousands of words of plot bunnies.
You've gone for toilet breaks before and then you came back to about a wall of text.
Yeah, that's basically...
Which I've written in my phone, by the way, using my phone at the time.
I remember, like, days where you'd write, keep writing, and then I would say, keep going, I need to go, I don't know, go for a walk and something. When I came back, you were still writing stuff, so, yeah.
Yeah, because I had the idea in my head, so I decided, like, I better put this down in somewhere, somehow, or I'd lose it.
Yeah.
And as you might know, that's how my story for OC-tober is going to be. I've actually taken something from what we've discussed over a year or more ago.
Over almost 2 years now, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's finally seeing the light of day.
Speaking of, what is your process for writing? How many hours do you spend brainstorming? Or how many hours do you actually spend writing instead of just brainstorming? And do you research at all? And how much do you research for anything you write? And what do you consider that is worthy for, that warrants a research in the first place?
Alright, so I've never devoted a specific time slot for myself with writing. I just do so when I'm not distracted with gaming, watching shows, or anything else really. But I've heard it's a good idea to devote 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and writing 1,500 words. So that's basically 100 words a minute. And just that much to sort of like discipline yourself. But as for me, I've never actually done that. So this I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I've never devoted any discipline to what I do. And as for research,
1,015 words a day is basically NaNoWriMo challenger.
Yeah, essentially. And as for research, I spend anywhere between 5 minutes to several months. Sometimes. It depends on what I'm looking for and what I'm researching. If I'm very interested, I might end up like going into a whole study of the whole thing. But that rarely happens.
Especially, I would assume that Lord of the Rings fics are the most researchable stories.
Yes, very much.
Considering how much lore there is to it.
Correct, and Tolkien has created this amazing world and ideas, and you
that
can
we
never...
just happen to get a book series out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I have done that one. I have done quite a fair bit of research into because I was passionate about it, and as a result, I ended up learning quite a fair bit of Sindarin and the Elven language, and so. I can't speak it. Don't ask me to recite lines from it now, but but yes, I did do a lot of research, like months and months of research, just studying the orcs, the elves, the humans, and so on. So I got a good idea of the universe, but I still don't consider myself an expert.
I'm a complete noob. Mostly, all I got is from you, Saul, and Rose, and Apple.
Oh,
that's basically what I get of Lord of the Rings.
Well, we all got to start somewhere.
Yes. To be fair, I'm not gonna say I obviously admire and shocked at how much he has written.
Oh yeah.
But yes. I'm not a massive fan of the whole thing.
That's fine. We understand.
Yeah.
We're still gonna judge you, but we're not gonna say
you have reworked several stories by now. Some going as far as starting from scratch. How is that process for you? How do you convince yourself that you gotta rework or that you gotta start from the ground up? Why do you think and how do you choose which one is gotta be done in different ways?
Yeah. Okay. So this one's going to be a bit of a long answer.
Sure.
But I would say to start with, it's exhausting but worthwhile. In the short time since I started my newer fix, like the Crystal of Lost Dreams, where I wrote myself into a corner and realized, oh no, I have no idea how to go from here without getting too unnecessarily long-winded. Plus, writing 10,000 words a chapter was not fun for me. And I realized I cannot afford to do that. So that was my process and reasoning for doing a restart. And yes, I'm going to start from scratch again. Because I also realized that some of the ideas I had in mind won't gel as well with the way I'm writing at the moment for that story. And then with Daphne Greengrass and the Pie Throwing Championship, it was different. Because I believe I told you when I started the story out, it started from a dream I had.
Yes.
of a story where Daphne is with Harry and he gets angry about something, not with her, but he was going to go off and lose his temper. Daphne didn't want him to do that, so she jumped on his back and bit him on the ear to make him listen. It just started from there, and I started writing it out. But then the reason why I did a rewrite was because although I had a good idea about what I was doing and where I was going with it, there was a few things that I felt I wanted to change or improve to make it more wholesome and suited with the story that I was going with. So then I found the Reddit about the Sweet Daphne,
the prompt, yeah.
Which did away with the Ice Queen persona completely and
thank God, because no more Ice
So
Queen.
I was like, yes. I decided that my version of Daphne, which I was writing, is close enough to this. So why not take it all the way? And I just did a whole rewrite, and I have no regrets about that. I think it's going a whole lot better than before.
Good.
Now, I'm particularly proud of Teardrops since I took it all the way to 10 chapters, and you saw how fast I was writing.
Yes, it was like every day or so you would bump on your
one a day,
chapter.
Which is incredible. I mean, no doubt it's a 2,000 word chapter, so it's quite short. But
2,000 a day, it's a lot of words. Like you have, if you consider
yes,
how much you can write in 1 week. If you write only 2,000 words a week, you have a epic length book in 1 year. That's a lot. So 2,000 words a day, it's massive.
Exactly. So
it's not Asimov's, but it's awesome.
Oh no, I'm not going to try to compete with that. But I'm thinking that Rowling's chapters are around 3,000 to 5,000 words.
Yeah, they're very short.
So
except book 5. Book 5 is long as fuck.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that, and I realized that I don't need to write a 10,000 word chapter because that takes forever for me to do. Some people can do that. I've seen some writers, Jackonay in particular, even Sal. He has written over 10,000 words chapters. So that's like
500,000.
I'm like,
551, if I recall correctly.
Exactly. So I was amazed by that, blown away. But I don't think I can keep up with that, which is why I'm doing a rewrite of those. But for
you
Teardrops,
gotta hit your own strides. You gotta
yes, exactly. So
for
Teardrops, the reason why I'm doing a rewrite is because of character problems, namely Bob. It started out as a low-key joke, but I think based on the reviews, he's becoming problematic to the progress of the story, for me personally as well as for the readers. So I think the content needed serious reworking. The rewrite is coming soon, and it will be quite radically different from the original content. So the process, if you want to call it that, is usually me just thinking about it and then making it happen. There's no real process. It's like just, I think about it, okay, do it.
Do you... That's gonna be a bit weirder, but like, do you put some music on, or do you do it in silence? Do you prepare yourself?
No. Yes, I
just the basic stuff. For that.
I do listen to music, usually instrumentals, because music with lyrics and words can be a bit jarring to the thought process, because I'll be listening to the words rather than thinking. So I listen to instrumental music quiet music. Sometimes I like listening to white noise ambient music.
Yes.
Sometimes not even music, just ambient white noise.
Yeah.
Like
Raining
a fireplace
sounds,
kind of a thing, and rain and all that.
forest.
So it helps. That does help me get into sort of like focus and think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you, I'm not sure if you have ADHD, but you're very easily distracted by things. So.
Oh, very much so. Tell me about it.
So
Yes.
yeah, I can imagine the white noise would help you focus.
Yeah, I might be the kind of person that will one day have to like go to a lonely cabin in the woods with no internet connection and a typewriter, just so I can
Yeah.
get my stuff done.
Not a typewriter, please. At least a
Okay,
notebook.
fine. A computer,
laptop,
but no
yes.
internet connection.
Because imagine if you ran out of ink or paper.
God help us.
I don't know how the old ones did it. It's amazing.
Yes, indeed.
So you have a lot of, like we talked before, you have a lot of the ideas and plot bunnies, and usually you use our DMs to write out the outlines for the many plots you have. How do you decide that each plot bunny is worth or not writing it out and publishing, and what isn't, based on those plot bunnies that you dish out?
Right. So, folks, I just want to say that I have inundated Brune here with a lot of ideas of mine, and he
You can call me Nals, that's
and he
okay.
has seen how my brain has no filter. So yeah, about your question, there is no story that isn't worth publishing to me. My enemy is time and energy to write them all down in a fully fleshed out way. Now, what I'm very good at doing is writing summaries of an idea from start to finish. I can put all the plots and everything in, but to write it out in a fully detailed manner, that I have difficulty with. So I think sometimes I'm more of an ideas person, but the actual completion of a story, that's a little harder to do for me so far.
So if completing them it's a bit harder because of time and energy, why don't you usually go more for one shots instead of multi chapters?
Yeah, I have considered that, but the thing is, I feel that the stories themselves sometimes deserve
More time,
more rich detail and
Yeah.
thought into them. One shots. The problem with one shots is unless you're people like Jack and I, who can somehow make you feel like you've read a multi-chapter story in just one chapter. I don't feel like I can do that. So I feel the only way for me to get my story out and in the way that it deserves is to write
Make
it fully out.
multi, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my goal,
So-
and one day I'm going to do it
Some
somehow.
some people have such a distinct character voice for their one shots that
Yes,
you don't feel like it's a one shot. So
exactly.
that helps.
Yes, very much so.
My boy Petri is one of those. Little
yeah,
shout out.
Yeah,
Shout out.
yeah. Hey there.
His harmony writing is basically that for me. Right now you have a bunch of stories ongoing, and some are being rewritten, like I said, with tears. So do you think your different kind of style has hurt you or has helped you gain an audience, like doing several bursts of stories and then dropping and then starting another one and then going back and then rewriting and reworking? You think that has helped or has hurt your audience, and do you care about it in either way?
I'm honestly not sure. Mostly, I just thought or hoped people will enjoy what they read and maybe leave a review. But I'm not too worried if they don't. So I do not know if it will help me or hurt me on the way. I just hope for the best.
Do you like? Are you a statistic guy? Like you like keeping track of views and follows and favorites and that kind of stuff?
I mean, it does affect me, but I don't actually actively track it. Like I'm not like
Yeah.
to copy paste
Okay.
the results and show you
Yeah,
and show
yeah.
people like, oh look, I got this much, No.
Yeah, I got you.
So I would say I don't really care either way, but at the same time, I do appreciate it if it does, go up and all that, and in a positive way.
Okay. I don't even remember the last time I checked mine, so I got you completely. You have a very unique kind of style for storytelling. Are there any specific stories that you feel a certain kinship to?
I would say, quite surprisingly, Daphne Greengrass and the Pie Throwing Championships, or as I would like to call it in short, Coconut Legend. I guess I cherish Daphne's ridiculously bright spark and cheerfulness. It's something I wish I could be myself. I enjoyed writing the semi-humor, semi-adventure, fun times and happy days galore story that Coconut Legend seems to be becoming.
Yes.
Because, it's got this like really bright outlook of life and everything in general. And there is that darkness on the horizon. And yet at the same time with Daphne, she's just going to be
very fluffy.
Fun.
Yes, she's very fluffy. It's adorable. On the other side of that question, do you feel that any story that you've read that isn't yours inspires you to write that sort of whimsical way? Or this is basically just your brain coming up with fluffy stories or ideas or different sets?
Well, I think in this case, it's me. I'm the one that's reflecting the character.
Okay.
Because I think it's been pointed out to me also before that a lot of my characters seem to reflect my personal innate nature.
Sure, yes.
Yeah, so
that usually happens,
yeah. Although I do sometimes go into grim dark, sometimes...
I remember that one story with the female Harry Potter, the little girl. I forgot her name. Mary? No, it wasn't Mary. The one with the shadows.
Oh, yes. Heather
Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a grim dark one. It has a good ending.
Dark theme, but also, yes,
it has a
super
good
fluffy
ending.
because of the way the characters ended up becoming all of them. Even Snape. I mean, Snape. Do you know how hard it is to make Snape fluffy?
I mean, have you ever seen a Dratini from Pokemon?
Yes, I have.
They are amazingly cute.
Yes, they are.
You've been a victim of plagiarism. What was that like? How did you deal with it, and how did it make you feel?
Okay, in a word, unhappy. I never imagined it would happen to me, so I was a little shocked to find that someone actually stole my very first fanfiction, the Wizards of Waverly Place story. They just copy-pasted the whole thing as their own work. They definitely did not mention me as the author, so they were definitely stealing my work.
Yes.
It wasn't a great story to be sure, but I was very displeased to discover that this person, actually took it. And so I reported it right away. I can only hope it never happens to you or anyone else.
Hopefully not. How did you do the reporting? Like, they have a
it was on
system?
A different
was
website.
It quick? They respond quickly?
Yeah, it was a different website. I can't remember which one it is now. But
it wasn't on Wattpad?
Not Wattpad. It was another place. It was another place entirely. I've never heard of this website before, which is why I never found it. Or I never realized that someone had actually stolen my work until recently. But the theft actually happened in 2013.
Oh wow, that's a long time
just
ago.
a year after I posted my works. I think that at the time when I was writing it, they started stealing my work already. So they were just copy pasting. As soon as I updated, they would copy paste it into their website. And the only reason why they stopped at a certain chapter was because in 2013, somewhere around then, fanfiction.net created some kind of I don't know what, but it
plagiarism detector.
Copy pasting. Yeah, it prevented people from copy pasting any fanfics. From then on, that person was not able to steal my work. But they stole quite a bit already, up to 16 chapters or 20 chapters around there. So
I probably shouldn't Sorry, go.
Yeah, it was pretty upsetting. And what I did was I immediately signed up on that website, and then I wrote a report. I just clicked on report this author,
Okay.
and I just said they stole my work, and I showed proof. I put my fanfiction link, and I said, here, you can see the date when I published it versus when they published theirs.
Okay.
And they did not credit me.
Did it take a long?
So within 1 day, they took it down.
Oh, that's quick. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty efficient.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't say this, but I use an app to change fanfiction.net's background color, and that app allows me to copy paste stuff. So yeah, you can still be plagiarized by it. So be careful.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So be careful, everyone.
Yeah. Who has helped you most with your writing career, and who is your biggest inspiration, both in the fanfiction world and the thread literature?
Well, that one is hard for me to say because, in a sense, I have so many sources of inspiration. I don't take like just one person to be my role model. I take ideas and concepts of people, that I like or find most appealing. Like maybe someone has a way of writing, they have a way of bringing their characters to life, or they just very good with wording. So they inspire me for those reasons. So I would say, specifically people like the late Bobmin 356, Bob and his wife Alex, they were some of my biggest inspirations. Jaconai, definitely. Even J.K. Rowling.
Yeah,
Sal, Salient, Taliesin, Brutus, Liberty, and Firefawn. These are, and there are a lot more writers I cannot even bring to mind at this very instant. From the fiction communities who inspire me to do the best I can. So these people are my inspiration and my role models, I would say, for various reasons. Be it devotion to your work, style, focus, or just anything, really.
And in the traditional literature, what do you use most as inspiration for your writing? Or life. Doesn't have to be necessarily about your writing, can be just your life.
Oh, okay. Well, traditional literature, I would say people like Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time series. And
did you know about what's his name? Brandon Sanderson picking up after him.
Yes, unfortunately, when Robert Jordan passed away, it was before he could finish his story. So Brandon Sanderson took over. I have not yet actually read the whole series completely.
It's humongous, so yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 books, I understand. So I'm going to go through it eventually, someday, hopefully. But yeah, he is one of my main inspirations, and there is another, but his name escapes me at this very instance. But he wrote a lot of BattleTech stories, so he's one of my inspirations also.
Yeah.
I think it's Michael A. Stockpole.
Not familiar, not ringing any bells.
Yeah, but he was one of my early inspirations when I was much younger.
You play a lot of games
when I was a teenager.
You play a lot of games. Do you often use them as inspiration, or even do you ever try to write about it? Because many games have deep lores and stuff. No. You never got interested in mixing the both genres.
No, I've never really thought about that. The games I play is like Life After. I highly recommend that game. Final Fantasy 14. A little bit of Lord of the Rings Online and Genshin Impact. Actually, I don't play Genshin Impact all that much, but I have dabbled into it.
I've wanted to play, but I don't know. Whenever I try, I saw the download and I just don't want to.
The Paimon is my main source of inspiration for that game because she's funny, and the fact that she's emergency food.
Yes. If you could give our listeners some advice about becoming writers, what would you give? What do you think it's the best thing to focus on when you're starting on your writing path?
Very easy. Don't use me for inspiration. Seriously.
That's a cop out. Seriously, what
Okay.
what
Okay.
do you?
No. All right. To be honest, I've never actually thought about it, like, giving advice to people like who are new, really, really new to writing.
Well, let me
Um,
rephrase then. What would you like to have known before when you started writing
Okay.
as
Yes,
a
I think
first-time
that's
writer?
right. I think that's a good idea. I guess be aware of your tenses, because that was my biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, if when you want to start out, just be very, very clear. If you want to write present tense, then stick to present tense, or if you want to write past tense, then stick to past tense. Because if you write it and mix it up, it's really going to get jarring and very hard for people to keep up with, or
Extremely so.
to even want to read.
Do you have
It
a
can be
preference for?
Huh?
Do you have a preference for first or
Personally,
third
I would
person?
say, personally, I would say the best is past tense. Like I said, I've followed mostly J.K. Rowling's work, and she always writes past tense.
Basically 95% of traditional writing are done in past.
Because the problem with present tense is, I've tried it, and I found that it can be very difficult to keep up.
Yes.
Because the tendency to mix it up or to slip into past tense is very, very easy. So unless you're capable of, like, just focusing really hard on keeping it present, you will have a hard time.
I don't remember which book was it or by whom, but there's a book where the author decided to do the jarring. He or she, they wrote the book. The entire book was in past tense, as you would expect from a regular one, but there's a character there, and whenever it's her point of view, the entire chapter is in present tense.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
the reader would get the jarring feeling of jumping from one another, to make the reader understand that, okay, this is different. This person is different, and the reason she was different was because she was in the spectrum of autism. So they wanted to use that jarriness.
The jarring sensation.
The jarring sensation. Thank you.
Okay.
For showing the reader that there's something new here, and that's a really good use of present tense. Otherwise, if you don't really trust your gut, go for past.
Yeah, so that's my advice. Go for past tense. It's easier to write with and work with.
And what about third and first person, or third person limited, or omniscient point of view?
Okay.
What do you prefer?
I again would prefer third person, because first person can be difficult. It can be good, but it can get difficult, especially because Rowling already writes from one character's perspective entirely.
Yes, Harry. Well, to be fair, she has some chapters in Code Open style.
Yes,
in some of her books.
Very few and far between.
Yes,
and only for specific reasons.
I can only remember 4. So yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that if you're going to write from a first person perspective, it's going to be even harder, because you cannot
play God.
The character cannot, unless the character is a telepath or a mind reader, they cannot expect to actually know what the other character is thinking or doing.
So you've got to really know.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going to go for first person, be prepared. It's challenging. Anything beyond third person, past tense, is going to be more challenging. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying if you're going to start out, I would recommend doing this third person, past tense.
One of the good aspects for first person, though, it's that you can really use navel gazing a lot and not be
Yes, and you can write the character's personal opinions and thoughts and so on.
It's
so that is
much
good.
easier doing that.
If you want to do that, I would advise the audience to look up this writers who wrote a story called Hunter's Moon. It's written by C.T. Adams and Cathy Clemp. C.T. Adams and
I'll
Cathy Clemp.
post a link. Don't worry.
Yeah. And Hunter's Moon is the name of the story. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible story. It's about a race of beings called the Sazi, and the protagonist is a werewolf,
mm-hmm.
or he's basically a shape changer who can become a wolf.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, it's written entirely in first person and entirely from his perspective, and it's very, very unique because he's a werewolf, right? So he can smell emotions, and the writers actually put descriptions to the emotions, like anger is spicy, so it's like smells like pepper, like chili pepper.
Oh, like that's interesting.
It's really, truly incredible. I highly recommend people.
That's really.
Read this
it's
story.
Almost a what's the condition that you have? Synesthesia? No, I think it's synesthesia that's called.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, you can taste colors. Let me check.
Oh wow! Okay, that's new to me. So yeah, okay, learn something new every day.
Yeah, you can taste, smell. It's basically a swap of your basic senses, the five senses. So
yeah,
it gets jumbled.
That's interesting. But yeah, essentially, so this story is written entirely in first person, and the narrative is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly advise. I can't recommend it enough to people to read if you want to do a first person story.
Do you have another recommendation that you would like everyone to read? Can be fanfic, can be original, whatever you choose.
Hunter's Moon is the mainstream fictions that you can read. I would advise.
Mm-hmm.
BattleTech, Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, definitely are all stories I would advise any reader and writer to get into, because it is worth learning from these writers. They are incredible.
Speaking of BattleTech, have you ever read or do you like Orson Scott Card?
Sorry, who?
Orson Scott Card, Ender's Game.
I don't think I've heard of it. I'm sorry.
You should. It's amazing.
Okay.
If you like that style, it's amazing.
I will definitely give it a read. If you can send me some links later, I will.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
They also have a Brazilian community in the books.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And other fan fictions, I would say anything from Jaconai.
Mm-hmm.
In his own website, fanfictionauthors.net.
That's my suggestion. Read Hope by Jaconai.
Yes, Hope. Hope is amazing. It's the most adorable and also incredibly wonderful story. As well as what was the name of the other one?
Blue Steel.
Happily Ever After.
Ah, okay. Blue
Steel. Yes, Blue Steel is amazing. You have to read that. That is an incredible story. It's a non-ship story, but wow.
Okay.
It blows my mind every time I read it. I love the Crumb family. It's funny. And I've never seen anyone write Romilda Vane in that way, that Jack
the only one I've read was a really bad smut fic with Cormac.
Gosh. Okay. Well,
yeah.
You know what? I feel like Romilda Vane is a seriously underused character. People should use her more.
She's weird, if you think about it. But, well, she lives in the magical world. It's expected to be weird.
Yes.
Okay, you can use your Scottish accent if you want to.
I keep telling you, it's Irish. I take Putin.
Okay, any last words in your Irish, Scottish brogue accent?
One day, I'm going to work on it so well it'll just come out naturally.
Oh god. Okay. This has been Nowscast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us, Triage.
Alright. Thank you for having me. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Be well. Be blessed.
Good. Good night. Bye-bye.